For for 30 years, millions of people have been diligently taking joint supplements that target the exact wrong part of their biology.
Yeah, it's actually pretty wild when you look at the data.
Right. I mean, we've been treating our bodies like a mechanic treats a broken car, just sort of looking at the worn out parts and completely ignoring the environment those parts live in.
Exactly.
And today, we are going to look at why that massive medical blind spot has kept so many of us feeling stiff, crunchy, and, well, older than our years.
It is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters,
Yeah.
honestly. We like things to be visible. We want them to be categorized as a simple structural failure.
Sure, because it's easier to understand.
Right, but human biology just doesn't work like a simple machine.
Welcome to this deep dive into the source material. Today, we are unpacking an excerpted guide titled Joint Genesis for Active Seniors: How to Stay Mobile Without Harsh Chemicals.
It's a really fascinating read.
It really is. And our mission today is to extract the real science of why our bodies get stiff as we age and uncover a comprehensive natural blueprint for staying active.
And we should clarify what we mean by active here.
Yes, definitely. Because when we talk about being active, the source is not talking about, you know, running ultramarathons or bench pressing heavy weights.
No, not at all. It is about a much more fundamental quality of life.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the source material makes a really beautiful point right up front. Staying active after 60 is really just about saying yes to the things that make life worth living.
I love that framing.
Right. It's having the confidence to agree to a morning hike with friends. It's an afternoon working in the garden without dreading tomorrow.
Or getting down on the floor to play with your grandkids.
Exactly. And crucially, being able to get back up without groaning or, thinking twice about it.
That is the ultimate goal. But to reach that goal, we have to confront that fundamental misunderstanding I mentioned a moment ago.
The medical blind spot.
Yes. For decades, the medical community and the supplement industry have been focusing intensely on the wrong part of the joint. And that is exactly why so many traditional remedies and over-the-counter fixes end up failing us in the long run.
So to fix a problem, we first have to understand the mechanism of the problem.
Precisely.
Let's pivot to the root cause of that dreaded morning stiffness. You know that feeling when you first swing your legs out of bed and everything just feels crunchy?
Crunchy is a highly accurate way to describe it, honestly.
Yeah.
We have been told for years, drilled into our heads really, that joint pain is purely about the cartilage wearing down.
Right, the classic bone-on-bone narrative.
Exactly. But modern joint research points to a much earlier culprit in the chain of events. It is the breakdown of your synovial fluid.
The synovial fluid, let's look at the anatomy here for a second. Inside every moving joint capsule in your body, you have this thick, jelly-like substance.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading the source, and I kept thinking of it as a car's motor oil. Or actually, like the fluid inside a heavy-duty shock absorber.
That's a great analogy.
If you have a shock absorber on a mountain bike, there is a specific fluid in there taking the impact and managing the heat and friction. In our bodies, this synovial fluid is incredibly rich in a specific molecule called hyaluronan.
Exactly. Hyaluronan is the key player here.
Yeah.
It is basically your body's natural joint oil.
Okay.
It cushions the cartilage and allows your bones to glide smoothly past one another. But what many people don't realize is that cartilage itself is avascular.
Meaning it doesn't have its own blood supply, right?
Correct. It cannot get nutrients from your bloodstream directly. It relies entirely on the synovial fluid to bathe it, nourish it, and protect it.
Wow. Okay. But here is the tragedy of getting older. As we age, our natural levels of this hyaluronan they drop off.
Significantly.
And because of that decline, the synovial fluid itself fundamentally changes. It gets thinner, it becomes less hydrating.
Yes.
So going back to the shock absorber analogy, it's like the fluid leaked out or degraded into dirty water, and now you just have metal grinding on metal.
And less cushion equals more friction.
Which equals that stiff, creaky feeling, especially in the morning or after you've been sitting in a chair for a long time.
Exactly. And this raises an important question about how we've been treating this issue historically.
Right, because if the primary problem is a lack of lubrication and a thinning of the synovial fluid, treating the cartilage doesn't actually solve the root mechanical failure.
No, it doesn't.
And I have to pause here because this brings up a really obvious question for me.
Let's hear it.
If this is fundamentally a hydration and lubrication issue inside the joint capsule, Why has everyone, and I mean everyone, been taking glucosamine and chondroitin for decades?
It's the million-dollar question.
I mean, I remember my grandparents having giant horse pill bottles of that stuff in their cupboards since the late 90s.
Oh, for sure. It is a vital question.
Hmm.
To understand why glucosamine became the industry standard, you really have to look at how we diagnosed joint issues in the first place.
Which is with x-rays.
Exactly, with x-rays.
Yeah.
X-rays are fantastic at showing bone density and the empty space where cartilage should be.
Right.
But they are terrible at showing the quality of your synovial fluid. You just can't see it.
Oh, wow. So doctors looked at the x-rays, saw that the cartilage was thinning, and logically assumed, hey, we need to rebuild the cartilage.
Yes, glucosamine and chondroitin focus strictly on the cartilage itself. They are trying to rebuild or protect the brake pad, to use your earlier analogy.
But they completely miss the crucial hydration and lubrication step that the synovial fluid provides.
Exactly. Think about it. You put brand new brake pads on a car, but there's no brake fluid in the lines. The system still doesn't work.
The brakes still fail.
Right. The cartilage needs that thick, hyaluronan-rich fluid to function. Without it, you are just ignoring the environment the cartilage lives in entirely.
That makes so much sense. It's like trying to grow a plant in completely dry, cracked soil by just spraying fertilizer on the leaves.
That's a perfect way to put it.
You can spray all the fertilizer you want, but if you don't fix the soil, the actual environment, the plant dies.
Right.
Which leads us perfectly to the next logical step. If watering the soil of the joint is the answer, how do you actually get hyaluronan into the capsule?
Because you can't exactly just inject motor oil into your knee at home.
Right. So what is the biological delivery system the source proposes?
Well, that is where the philosophy shifts from masking a problem to actually addressing the root environment.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The source material points to a specific formulation meant to solve this. It's an advanced joint health supplement called Joint Genesis, made by a company named Biodynamix.
Yes, and their core philosophy is a complete pivot from what we are used to seeing in this space.
Instead of masking discomfort with harsh chemicals or painkillers, which just numb you, their goal is to nourish the internal environment of the joint.
Nourishment over numbing. It is a fundamental paradigm shift in how we view aging joints.
Okay, so when you look at the formulation of Joint Genesis, how are they executing this rehydration?
It centers on a patented ingredient called Mobility.
Mobility. Okay, so what exactly is that?
Mobility is a natural hyaluronan matrix. The entire purpose of this ingredient is to replenish those declining levels of hyaluronan that we naturally lose as we age.
By giving the body that raw material back.
Exactly. By reintroducing this specific matrix, the goal is to support the thickness and hydration of the synovial fluid itself.
To get that joint oil back to a thick, jelly-like consistency.
Right, so it can properly coat the avascular cartilage.
But looking at the ingredients, Mobility isn't acting alone in this formula, is it?
No, it's part of a broader system.
Because the source material highlights a blend of specific botanicals working alongside it. It lists pycnogenol, ginger root, and Boswellia serrata.
Yes, and it is really important we define what those actually are.
These two.
Because they're not just random plant extracts. Pycnogenol is a very specific patented extract from French maritime pine bark.
Okay.
And Boswellia serrata is widely known as Indian frankincense, a resin that has actually been used in traditional practices for centuries.
Okay, so we know what they are, but how do they actually work inside the body? Because I have to be honest, throwing the word botanicals around can sometimes sound a bit like vague magic.
Oh, I totally agree. But there is no magic here. It is pure biochemistry. Let's take ginger, for example.
Right.
Ginger isn't just an old wives' tale for an upset stomach. It contains highly active compounds called gingerols.
Gingerol.
Yes. And these gingerols actively inhibit the specific enzymes in your body that trigger inflammation.
Wow, really?
Yes. It's essentially blocking the chemical signal that tells your joint to swell up and ache in the first place.
So it's a biochemical roadblock.
Precisely.
Ow.
And Boswellia serrata operates on a very similar principle. It is rich in boswellic acids, which target a completely different inflammatory enzyme known as 5-LOX.
Okay, so they are tackling the inflammation from multiple angles.
Right. When a joint is lacking lubrication, the resulting friction causes inflammation. So while the Mobility is working to rehydrate and thicken the synovial
The
fluid...
physical cushion.
Exactly. While that's happening, the gingerols and boswellic acids are working to manage that inflammatory response at a molecular level, promoting everyday comfort.
That's a great 1-2 punch.
And meanwhile, the pycnogenol acts as a powerful antioxidant, helping to protect the joint space from oxidative stress.
That makes a lot of sense. And there's one more ingredient listed at the very end of the formula, bioperine,
Yes, crucial addition.
which, from what I understand, is essentially an extract derived from black pepper. Why on earth would you put black pepper extract in a joint supplement?
Because of bioavailability. Bioperine acts as a massive absorption multiplier.
Ah, okay.
You can consume all the hyaluronan and boswellia in the world, but if your digestive system doesn't absorb it and deliver it to your bloodstream, it's just expensive waste.
Right, it just passes right through you.
Exactly. The bioperine ensures your body actually takes in the active compounds.
It's essentially unlocking the door so the other ingredients can get inside.
That's a great way to put it.
For you listening, it is also really worth noting the manufacturing context provided in the source.
Oh, absolutely.
Joint Genesis is manufactured right here in the USA in an FDA-registered GMP-certified facility. It is non-GMO, and it's free from the harsh chemicals found in many over-the-counter options.
Which is great for peace of mind.
Definitely. But the text makes a really critical distinction here. This is not a painkiller. It is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
That is a vital distinction to make. It is a slower foundational approach.
Right.
It is designed to support your body's own joint lubrication system over time. It's for adults building a long-term strategy for active aging and independence, not as someone looking for an overnight numbing effect so they can just ignore an acute injury.
I appreciate that framing, long-term independence,
Yeah.
because taking a supplement, even a scientifically backed one, is really only half the equation, right?
What's fascinating here is that internal hydration absolutely must be paired with specific physical habits. You cannot just swallow a capsule, sit completely still on the couch for the rest of the day, and expect your joints to magically rejuvenate.
Right. The supplement might give your body the raw materials, the joint oil, but you still have to prime the engine.
Precisely.
And the source provides a really incredible practical mobility playbook for day-to-day life to do exactly that.
It's very actionable.
It is. Let's start with hiking, since the guide mentions this is one of the most common activities seniors want to get back to. How do I keep hiking without paying for it the next day?
Well, the first rule of hiking in this playbook is hydration. But it goes far beyond just bringing a water bottle on the trail.
Yes, the timing is what's fascinating. The actionable tip here is to drink 16 to 20 ounces of water before you even touch your morning coffee.
Which is tough for a lot of people.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But why is that specific timing so crucial?
Because you have been exhaling moisture all night long as you sleep. You wake up in a state of mild dehydration. And remember, cartilage is mostly water. If your body is generally dehydrated, your synovial fluid becomes thin and ineffective.
And then you add coffee.
Exactly. Coffee is a mild diuretic. If you drink coffee first, you are pushing even more fluid out of your system before you've replenished it.
Wow.
That morning water gives your body the baseline fluid it needs to maintain the synovial volume.
But then comes the mechanical part. The source recommends spending just 5 minutes doing gentle joint circles, ankle rolls, and slow bodyweight squats before you hike.
Yes.
And the biomechanics behind this are brilliant.
They really are. Cartilage acts like a sponge. When you bear weight on it, it literally squeezes fluid out.
Okay.
And when you release that weight, it sucks fluid back in. By doing slow, gentle bodyweight squats and joint circles, you are creating a pressure differential inside the capsule.
So you are physically pumping the synovial fluid into the cartilage.
Yes, you are circulating the oil through the engine before you put a heavy load on it.
That makes perfect sense. Now let's talk about gardening.
Gardening.
The guide mentions gardening next, which I've always found fascinating because it's basically a biomechanical nightmare for the human body.
It truly is.
You're combining sustained isometric holds, like kneeling in one spot for 20 minutes, with these repetitive micro movements in your hands. What is the source's workaround for that kind of specific stress?
Gardening is essentially a prolonged stress test for your joints. The stagnation is the real enemy here.
Because of the sponge effect we just talked about.
Exactly. As we just discussed, cartilage needs movement to pump fluid in and out. When you kneel in one spot, you squeeze the fluid out and keep it out.
Yikes.
So the guide's rule of thumb is to alternate 20 minutes of gardening with 5 minutes of walking.
Just to get that sponge effect working again.
Precisely. Furthermore, for your knees, stop kneeling directly on the ground. Use a low garden stool.
Simple, but effective.
Very. And for your hands, which take a massive beating from gripping tools and pulling weeds, the tip is to soak your hands in warm water for 5 to 10 minutes before you start.
Why the warm water soak?
Heat causes vasodilation. It expands the blood vessels and boosts local circulation.
Oh.
It warms up the tissues and makes the joints more pliable before you subject them to those repetitive micro-movements.
That makes sense.
And you combine that with using ergonomic tools that have thicker grips. A thicker grip means your fingers don't have to close as tightly, which significantly reduces the friction and strain on the smaller finger joints.
And this is where the botanicals in the supplement really show their value, right?
Absolutely.
Because the gingerols and boswellic acids are specifically relevant for gardeners, helping manage that inflammatory cascade at the molecular level after you've put your joints through that kind of repetitive stress.
That is the complementary effect, yes. Mechanical hydration for the movement, biochemical botanical support for the recovery.
Now let's talk about the grandkids. The source has a dedicated section called the Grandkid Protocol.
I love this section.
Me too. And reading through it, I realized this isn't just about physical comfort. It's heavily about human psychology and confidence.
This is a crucial, often overlooked component of aging. The fear of stiffness actually changes our behavior.
It really does.
When we are afraid it will hurt to get down on the floor to play, we avoid doing it. We modify our lives to move less.
But moving less is exactly what creates more stiffness.
It is a vicious cycle. The synovial fluid gets stagnant, the cartilage dries out, and the muscles weaken.
So fear creates stillness, and stillness creates stiffness.
Perfectly said.
So how do we break the cycle? The guide suggests something called the Grandparent Mobility Minute. You do this twice a day.
It's so approachable.
It is. It is 30 seconds of sit-to-stands from a sturdy chair, literally just sitting down and standing back up, and 30 seconds of calf raises while holding onto a countertop for balance.
It sounds almost too simple, but let's look at the biomechanics of a sit-to-stand motion.
Okay.
It is actually a complex, multi-joint movement. It requires ankle mobility, knee stability, and significant engagement of the glutes and quadriceps.
Wow.
In fact, in geriatric medicine, the ability to transition from the floor to a standing position is considered a prime indicator of overall biological aging and longevity.
Because it requires the entire kinetic chain to work together.
Exactly. By practicing that sit-to-stand motion for just 1 minute a day, you are maintaining the specific muscular strength and joint familiarity you need.
Right.
When you pair that daily physical habit with the internal support of thicker, hydrated synovial fluid provided by the supplement, your joints can glide smoothly.
And that is what restores the physical capability, which in turn restores the psychological confidence to get down on the rug and play.
Exactly. You get your life back.
So what does this all mean? If we zoom out and look at the whole picture, the source material gives us a remarkably simple, comprehensive, active senior framework.
It's a great summary.
It really breaks down into 3 distinct parts. Morning. Drink water before coffee, do your 5-minute joint warm-up to pump the fluid, eat a healthy breakfast, and take Joint Genesis to deliver the hyaluronan and botanicals.
A perfect start to the day.
Daytime. Break up stagnation. Make sure you move every hour, even if it's just for 2 minutes, and actively choose to do one joyful activity garden, walk, or play with the grandkids.
Keep the fluid pumping.
And evening, light stretching, a warm shower for vasodilation, and avoiding long periods of stillness on the couch that let the joints lock up again.
It is a true lifestyle protocol. But it does require that consistent daily support. Rehydrating a joint is not an overnight fix, it is a structural rebuild.
Right, it takes time.
It's worth noting the source material heavily emphasizes this long-term approach. The manufacturer even ties their money-back guarantee to a 6-month window, which aligns with exactly what we've been discussing. It takes time for these cellular changes to manifest in everyday mobility.
6 months gives the body time to actually use the raw materials.
Yes. And as the source wisely advises, it is always recommended to consult your healthcare provider before starting any new supplement, especially if you have a medical condition or take medication.
Absolutely. Always keep your doctor in the loop.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really makes you think about the biological limits we are pushing as a species.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Think about it. If our bodies naturally stop producing enough hyaluronan as we age, causing this friction and stiffness, is it simply because evolution never designed our joints to last 80 or 90 years in the first place?
That is a fascinating thought. We are basically outliving our own evolutionary warranty.
Exactly. We are in uncharted territory. And if so, by manually replenishing this joint oil through targeted ingredients like Mobility and forcing ourselves to keep the fluid pumping through these specific daily movement protocols, Aren't we essentially biohacking our own evolution to rewrite what the golden years are supposed to look like?
I think we absolutely are. We are totally rewriting the script.
It's empowering.
It really is. We aren't just blindly accepting the wear and tear as an inevitability of aging. We are actively changing the internal cellular environment to outsmart our own biology.
Beautifully said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. It turns out, when you look past the overly simplistic idea of a worn-out brake pad and actually take the time to understand the messy, beautiful biology of synovial fluid, you have the power to change how you age. Keep moving, keep questioning, and keep learning.